Okay, so here we are for the National Family Support Network's Webinar Wednesday, Family Resource Centers, Supporting Parent Leadership Development. I'm glad you're joining us today. My name is Andrew Russo. I'm the co-founder and director of the National Family Support Network, and I'll be moderating and presenting a bit for today's webinar, along with our wonderful presenters that we have to introduce you to in a little bit. At first, we want to get a sense of who all of you are joining us here. So we have this map that we'd like you to take a look at and identify which region of the country you're in if you're joining us from the US. And we're going to launch a poll question here. So note where you are, and then here will come the poll question in the middle of your screen, asking you to identify which region you're in according to this map, including if you're joining us from Canada or internationally, let us know. Right, so there's a poll in the middle of your screen. If you can click on which area you're in. Another second or two to vote in that poll. All right, let's take a look at the results. Okay, so we have people joining us from all across the country. Wonderful. This is truly a national webinar. Thank you all for being here. And we have one guest from Ontario, Canada, Alexandra. Thank you so much for joining us. Okay, and we have another poll question to get to know all of you, which will launch in the middle of your screen now. It's about your affiliation. Okay, here you go. Here's your affiliation. If you could indicate which one of these most closely represents where you're joining from, whether you're at a family resource center or you're a parent leader or work in the government or a funder or other. If you click other, then you can share in the chat, please, what other represents so we can welcome you. All right, last seconds to vote in the poll here. Okay, let's take a look. Okay, so once again, we have diversity of, wow, every single category has somebody in it. So we have folks from family resource centers, family resource center networks, other family support programs. We have 5 parent leaders. Special welcome to all of you. Some folks from early care and education, some from education, government, child welfare, other government folks, a private funder, and those who shared other, who selected other sharing in the chat what that represents. Wonderful. So great to see all this diversity, both of geographic location and kinds of affiliations you have. So let me share some context about the National Family Support Network for you briefly. The National Family Support Network was founded in 2011 when 8 states came together that had networks of family resource centers and founded this organization. And since that time, the network has grown tremendously. So has increased in size more than 5-fold as more and more states have learned about and then chosen to invest in and open and create networks of family resource centers. So we're now up to 41 member networks. That's 40 states plus the District of Columbia, collectively representing more than 3,000 FRCs, serving millions of our nation's families every year. The mission of the National Family Support Network is to promote positive outcomes for all children, families, and communities by leveraging the collective impact of those state networks and championing quality family support and strengthening policies and practices. And our vision, simply put, is that that whole map would be green, that all families would be able to access quality family support resources in their communities supported by strong networks. So if you happen to be from a state that's not currently green on that map, we particularly like to connect with you. So here's our agenda, what we'll be covering today at this webinar. First, we're going to do a brief introduction to family resource centers to make sure we all have that common understanding of them as we launch into this webinar. And then we'll be turning to overview of parent leadership development, looking at it within the context of family resource centers in the family support field. Then we will hear from our presenters today, who will be sharing about their experience as family success centers, which is what FRCs are called in New Jersey. We'll hear from the North Ward Center and also from the Greenway Family Success Center. And we'll hear from both staff and also a parent leader who has participated in the activities at the Greenway Center. We will then turn to our discussion, where we'll be talking and sharing about the experience of parent leadership development from the program perspective, from the parent perspective, and then we'll have time for question and answers with you as well. So speaking of question and answers, you will see on your toolbar specific icon for Q&A, and that's where we encourage you to put your questions, because that's where we'll be pulling them from later in the discussion. So at any time during this session, if you have questions, put them in that Q&A section, and then we'll come to them. You're welcome to use the chat for other things, such as sharing who you are, or sharing your reactions or comments about things people are sharing. But please put your questions in the Q&A section. Okay, so then toward the end, we'll share resources and opportunities available through the NFSN that may be of use to you in your valuable work. And then we'll have our evaluation at the end, which will pop up on the screen immediately as we close. All right, so that's our roadmap for our time together. And first, we're going to talk about family resource centers. So time for our next poll. We'll launch here in the middle of your screens again to just get a sense of, we're kind of looking for a different question here, but that's fine. We can work with this. To your knowledge, does your state have programs that look like family resource centers? So yes, no, or not sure. All right, last seconds to vote in that poll. All right, let's look at the results. Okay, so great majority of folks reference that they have seen family resource centers in their states. That's great. And a number of you are not sure, which is understandable. So let's talk a little bit about what FRCs are, so people will all have the same context for our discussion today. So family resource centers have emerged organically across the country, and they may be in community-based settings like the image you see on the left in Vermont, or they may be in school-based settings like you see on the right in the image from Kentucky. They may be in rural settings like the image you see on the left from Colorado, or they may be in urban settings like the image you see on the right from New York City and the Bronx. Wherever they're located, family resource centers work with families with a multi-generational, strengths-based, family-centered approach. So all of those components are key. So multi-generational, recognizing we're supporting the child, also supporting the parents, caregivers, also the larger family system, the grandparents, kin, others involved. So working with the whole family. Strengths-based, because we see families as coming to the table with strengths that we want to support them to further develop and build upon. And family-centered. Everything we do is focused on the family at the heart. They are designed for all families, so not only for low income or families facing a lot of challenges, they're designed for everybody. The image you see on the right is from New Jersey, and New Jersey has 21 counties and 57 family success centers. So that means every county has at least one, and typically more than one, family success centers. So that includes highly affluent counties as well as highly challenged counties as well, because the perspective is all families should be able to access these resources, which goes a long way to reducing potential stigma for people participating in the programs. So when to the family support centers, family resource centers, family success centers, whatever we call them, they could go by different names in different places. As you see, they support all of us with two of the most important roles we can have as adults, being parents and being spouses or partners. Two of the most important roles we can have that typically we receive nothing in the way of support for. So here are these centers to help all of us succeed. They provide services at no or low cost for participants and support families to build protective factors, such as, in particular, the Strengthening Families Protective Factors. So these protective factors, which come from the Center the Study of Social Policy, are research-based, that we know that these particular factors, when present, are more likely to ensure a family is strong and successful, less likely to experience child abuse and neglect. So as long as we're working with families, we want to be supporting them to build these 5 protective factors, which all those centers do. Family resource centers bundle together in a convenient location many different supports and services that you may be familiar with already, such as home visiting, parenting education, health screenings, childcare resource and referral, fatherhood programs, food banks, job skills. Not every FRC will provide all of these services, but FRCs commonly provide multiple services like this that they put together, again, in a convenient hub that can be a one-stop for families to access many different kinds of supports and services. It's important to understand that FRCs are of, by, and for the community served. So that means that when we start, even to plan an FRC, we're working with the community. Families are at the table. Families are engaged in shaping and planning the programs that we can ensure that they're going to be resonant and relevant with the particular communities we're working with. Similarly, staff are hired who are from the community, who speak the languages, understand the cultures, and look like and share the diversity of the families served. And parent advisory committees, which we'll be talking about today, are leadership from the participants that help ensure that the program is continually responsive to the community and accountable to it. So because FRCs are so community-based like that, we often say, if you've seen one FRC, you've seen one FRC, because exactly what they're doing is going to vary depending on the particular community they're working with. And at the same time, we know, thanks to research that was conducted with the support of the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, that there is remarkable commonality across the 4 most common areas of work that FRCs have. So what parenting support and access to resources are the 2 biggest, and those are the bread and butter of any FRC. So whether it's big, small, urban, rural, school-based, community-based, wherever it's located, all FRCs provide those 2 services, parenting support and access to resources. Although exactly what they were doing may vary along these continua, which you see here represent intensity of service, as well as the specific kinds of things they might do. Then also child-focused activities supporting their healthy development, and also parent leadership development, which we'll be talking about today, the whole focus of our webinar. Okay, so one more thing to share about the wonderful world of FRCs is FRCs are not just a list of services. So the secret sauce, the reason why FRCs are so popular with families is because they create opportunities for peer support. So they connect families to other families. So you don't just access a service and then that's it. You join a community when you participate in a family resource center, getting to know other parents and caregivers, sharing about the joys, the challenges of raising families, and make those social connections that we know go a long way to reducing parent stress, helping families feel connected in their communities, and therefore research shows decrease the likelihood of social isolation and child abuse. All right, so now we're going to turn to talking about family resource centers in relationship to parent leadership development. And to do this, we're going to put things in context. So put in context, why is it that family resource centers have a focus on parent leadership development? As you saw, that was one of the 4 most common areas of work that they do. So why is that? How are they different than other services and supports that help the community? There are libraries, there the dentist, the doctor's office, all of those provide supports for families, but they're not focused on parent leadership development. Why is that a particular hallmark of our work? And to answer that question, we need to go back to look at the principles of family support practice. So these principles come from another national organization called Family Support America. This organization sunset some time ago, but it developed and left behind these 9 principles that function as something like the 10 commandments in the family support and strengthening field. So all our work in the family support and strengthening field stems from these 9 principles and is grounded in them about how to work with families effectively. What is quality practice? And these 9 principles, there's lots of richness in each of them. I'm just going to highlight a couple today and make the connect with parent leadership development, and also reference that that in the handouts that we'll have for this webinar, which will be available tomorrow along with the recording, you'll have this as well to refer back to and explore further. But for today, I want to focus on a few of them here. The first principle is staff and families work together in relationships based on equality and respect. This is really key and foundational in the family support field, because many times when people are working with the community, when they're working with families, it may have the perspective that we as staff are up here with our knowledge and education and perspective, and the quote unquote problem family is down here. And it's up to us to figure out how to reach down and lift up that problem family. But this first principle of family support really challenges that notion, saying, yes, we as the staff come to the table with our background, experience, and education, but the family comes to that same table with their own experience and resources and strengths. And it's only by working together in partnership, in a relationship based on equality and respect, that we'll achieve best outcomes together. So when we think about this principle in relation to parent leadership development, it also calls us to think about things a bit differently than some may have in the past. So for example, there's a particular word that has often been used, including in the family support and social service field, for talking about leadership development. And that word is empowerment. And this idea that where our goal is to empower families. But when we use that kind of language, when we stop and think about it, it doesn't really respect and honor where families are coming from. So it's this idea that, again, we're up here as staff with power, families down here, we're going to reach down like with a magic wand, ta-da, now you have power and you're going to rise up. But when we think about families in the strengths-based way, we first recognize that families already come to the table as leaders. They are already in a natural leadership role, that literally the role of a parent is they are responsible for the care and well-being of others in a family system. So they're already leaders. So our goal isn't to teach them how to be leaders like they don't know anything. Our goal is to support them to further develop those leadership skills and create opportunities for them to use them in our programs as partners and also in the larger community. Another one that I want to point out is family support principle number 3, which has to do with families being resources to each other. This is a very key role that underscores the importance of leadership development of participants in our field, because as families develop leadership skills, other families will see those parent leaders, those family leaders, as key people to go to for information and resources. So not just coming to staff or asking staff about things, families themselves take leadership about being resourceful and sharing information with other families. And that's a key role that that parent leaders can play. Also want to mention just a couple more things here. Number 5, programs are embedded in their communities and contribute to the community building process. This is so key, because in the family support field, we do not see ourselves simply as social service providers. We see ourselves as community builders, as community strengtheners. We believe that our work makes a fundamental difference in terms of strengthening communities. And a key reflection of that is supporting parent leadership development. So we want to support participants to take ownership for, take leadership of the communities. Right. And last one I'll focus on for today is number 6, which is about programs advocating with families for services and systems that are fair, responsive, and accountable to the families served. So this idea of advocacy, very important in our field. There are so many things that we'd like to see families have that they don't currently have in our communities. So advocacy is a very common area and common need. And so having parent leaders who are comfortable with, familiar with how to navigate systems, how to speak up for themselves, how to speak up for the other families and larger community, really key. So as you can see, there are a number of ways that these family support principles, which are so foundational in our field, point to the importance of parent leadership development. So going further, want to talk about the continuum of family engagement. So the term family engagement is used very broadly and means different things to different folks. So for example, in the education field, people talk a lot about family engagement as the end goal. We want to really see families engage in their children's education. We know that when families are engaged, children's schools do better, and that's great. That's good. But there's also more to talk about when we look at it in the family support field lens. So first is we talk about families being at the table in program planning, as we talked about earlier, that we're out there listening to the community, having focus groups, creating planning committees with the community to help plan our programs and services in the first place. We don't just plunk down FRC and say, we think this will be good for them and I hope they come. We're working with the community to plan programs and services that are going to be responsive to them. Next is program outreach. So this is engaging families through connecting with them and encouraging them to participate in programs. So then the families come aboard, then they're involved in the program. So they're participating in the programs. And as we mentioned before, they're joining a community. They're connecting with other families and building relationships and accessing supports and services that are useful to them. And then the next stage here is program leadership. So that's when families now familiar with the programs are taking on opportunities to be further involved and be involved in the leadership of the program, such as through parent advisory committees is a very common structure for family resource centers engaging families in leadership. So this just gives us some sense, some context of what we're talking about when we talk about family engagement leading to that program leadership at the end. Also want to put parent leadership in context with looking at our nationally adopted standards of quality for family strengthening and support. So these nationally adopted standards are a big piece of the work that the National Family Support Network does in terms of trying to bring so many diverse programs all on the same page around what quality work looks like with families. And these standards are based on the 2 frameworks referenced earlier. They're based on those 9 principles of family support practice and the 5 protective factors. So they show us how to work with families in quality ways to build those 5 protective factors. So we're going to look at an excerpt here to just ground us again in where parent leadership development fits in our field. This is the family centeredness, the first section of the standards, and standard FC1, family centeredness 1. This is the first standard in the entire document. So this is the first of 15 standards. Program engages families to participate in program development and implementation. And you see at the foundational quality level, it's what we were talking about earlier. The program solicits input from families to shape and plan the program and services. And then at the high quality level on the right, which goes further, goes deeper, does more than the foundational quality, you see the program's design supports partnering with families to have an active role in the development and implementation of the program. So to meet quality, you need to be doing that foundational quality work, but we also encourage you to go further with actually further intentional work where parents are at the table, helping to make the decisions, and that the way the program is designed, it does that. And you'll see examples listed under these indicators, such as here in High Quality, program has a parent advisory committee. And note, it doesn't just say program has a parent advisory committee, period. A program has a parent advisory committee, which meets regularly and impacts program development. So parent advisory committee is actually doing something, not just checking a box. And one more excerpt from you here from the community strengthening section. The standard CS2 program engages families in community strengthening and supports their leadership development. So leadership development is so important in the family support and strengthening field. It's in the standards. So this is actually a standard about parent leadership development, how important it is. Once again, foundational quality on the left, program supports families to advocate for themselves and to develop their community leadership skills. So those kinds of things we're talking about earlier about helping families to understand systems, know how to advocate in them. And the high quality indicator program implements a formal structure to partner with families to develop their leadership skills and to facilitate opportunities for using those skills in the community. So once again, not just enough to provide training or support skills development, but here's an opportunity to use it in our programs. Here's an opportunity right here to partner with staff, use those leadership skills in our programs, as well as pointing participants to opportunities in the larger community. All right, so one more thing to share here that we talk about in the standards. This is the definition of standards. This is the definition of equity that we use in the standards. So advancing equity, all people possessing what they need to reach their full potential. That's the definition we use in the standards. So with this image off to the right. All right, sorry about that, folks. I just got bumped from the room I was in. All right, so talking about equity, all people possessing what they need to reach their full potential. So that image off to the right, if that figure is able to go up that staircase, the top of the staircase representing her full potential. And yet we know that there are many barriers to families being able to go all the way up to the top of that staircase. In some situations, just going up one or two steps is seems like a near impossible task. And so many barriers may be in the way, such as lack of education or systemic racism, other challenges that families may face. So when we're talking about advancing equity, which is a key part of the standards, we want to underscore the importance of parent leadership, because we can't talk about advancing equity unless families have agency, unless they have the ability to make a difference in their communities and try to advance things in themselves. So that's where parent leadership development fits in, also a key part of helping to advance equity. And just to share a little data that we know from research on families being engaged in program leadership, I'm going to share two slides with you. One shows the impact at the systems level, and the other shows the family level impact. So at the systems level, that when families are engaged in program leadership, we see the system is more responsive, which just makes sense, right? Because we're listening to families, then we're able to be responsive to them. And as a result, services are better provided, more effective, more culturally sensitive, and communities are healthier as their capacities to support families are enhanced. So families being engaged in leadership, it's only going to strengthen the work that's being done to try to support them, ensuring that it's more responsive, relevant, and successful. And then looking at the family perspective, and we'll be hearing from a parent leader in just a little bit, we find that the participant satisfaction is improved. The likelihood of positive family outcomes is higher. Families are better able to use services and help other families. Families build skills, and parents also model for their children ways they can be involved and contribute. So we shared this data also in a training that the National Network does, which I'll reference later, which is developing and sustaining effective parent advisory committees, because parent leadership development, I have to say, it's not easy work. You know, for programs to do this, it takes time and it takes effort and takes a lot of intentionality and problem solving and troubleshooting. But this data shows us why it's worth it and how important this is, both for our systems, our communities, and the families. So with that said, you've heard a lot from me, and now you have the chance to hear from our other presenters. And we're so glad to welcome today Yesenia, who's the director of the North Ward Center, Family Success Center. And we'll also hear from Christina Armstrong, who's also director of a New Jersey center, this one in Greenway. And we'll also hear from Catherine Davalos, who is a parent leader who has been involved in Christina's center. So we'll first turn to Yesenia to give us some context about the community she works in and what their center is up to. And then we'll hear from Christina's, and then we'll move to our discussion of parent leadership and everyone's experience of it. So first we'll turn to Yesenia.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having me, Andrew. So the North Ward Center Family Success Center is known to the community as the Pink House, our house is pink, or in Spanish, they call us La Casita Rosada. Our staff consists of 2 family partners. We have a community and family volunteer partnership coordinator and myself, who is director. We are located at 286 Mount Prospect Avenue in North. Next slide. So our location is in Newark, the largest city in New Jersey, with a diverse population of more than 300,000 people. We're located in Essex County, which is broken down into 5 political wards. We have the North, South, East, Central, and West Ward. Our Family Success Center is actually located in the North Ward, and which is ethnically diverse. Next slide. So our center provides different types of community assistance. Our programs enhance family relationships. They bring the community together, and we strengthen families and the well-being of our community. We assist community through community assistance and events, as our yearly turkey distribution that you see at the top left. We have our backpack distributions, and we host many events like coat drives or food distribution. Next slide. We also host parent education programs that encourage wellness and nutrition, safety in the home, active parenting, and we support families. Next slide. Our calendar is full of many parent and child activities throughout the month. We have arts and craft, game nights, movie nights. We bring different experiences to the families, and we also give them the opportunity so that families or parents can teach their children something that they may have learned when they were younger. Something like crocheting is something we just started like a month ago. It's at the bottom left, where we have parents teaching their children how to crochet, or other community members who may not know and have a chance to learn how to crochet at that moment. But most importantly, our center provides the opportunity for families to spend quality time together. Next slide. And here is our Parent Advisory Council. So they are made up of community members who come to our center, and they also represent what our community looks like. So at the top left, we have Audelia, we have Carmen in the middle top, Amy at the top right, Anthony in the bottom left, we have Carlos in the middle, and we have Maria at the bottom middle, and Tatiana at the right bottom. At the right bottom. So they are community members, and this is exactly what represents our community. They're bilingual. Our community is made up of a big population of bilingual members. So it's very important to have the language that the community speaks at the table, because they will feel encouraged to participate if they understand the language. Okay, that's it.
All right, thank you so very much sharing about the North Ward Center. And we'll now turn to the Greenway Family Success Center and Christina.
Good afternoon, everyone. And Andrew, thank you very much for the opportunity to be here today. So while we stay on this slide, I just wanted to give you a little bit of background of who works at the Greenway Family Success Center. So we also, just like Yesenia said, we have a family partner, Stephanie Tencio. We also have a volunteer and community partnership coordinator, Zaria Rawls, and then I'm the site director there. And we currently do have 2 interns with us as well, who are a wonderful support, and they're both students from Rutgers. Next slide, please. So a little bit about our community. We have a map here of New Jersey, and where the heart is right about where Woodbridge Township is. It's a small map, so it's not exactly precise, but to give you a little bit of information about the community in which our center is located, it's very diverse. So just like you heard about from Yesenia's community, our county, Middlesex County, has the highest diversity index according to the last census. Essex County, where Yesenia's is right behind it. So we have a huge variety of races, ethnicities, religions, and a big variety across socioeconomic status as well. One of the great things about our Parent Advisory Council is that it really is representative of a huge variety of cultures and countries. And we're very thankful for that because of the perspective we get, but more about that a little bit later. So Woodbridge Township is one larger township that's made up of 10 subsections. It's a suburban area, and across our township, you'll see a huge range of very affluent communities and low-income communities. And like Andrew mentioned before, one of the great things about our work is that we are very welcoming to everyone. So the people coming into the community center where we are people that might not have met each other otherwise, but they form bonds when they come in. Next slide, please. So we have a few pictures of our activities. You can see it's a very diverse group of families. We have a parenting class graduation. We have some henna or mehendi being done at the bottom left, painting classes. We do financial literacy. So just a very quick glimpse of some of the things that we do. Next slide, please. And a little bit to give you a glimpse of how we do our programs. So again, similar to Yesenia in that we've done nutrition classes, we do a lot of arts and crafts, many parenting workshops. We've also done a lot related to housing, whether it's tenants' rights, decluttering, DIY projects, or safety. One thing we've heard a lot from our community about is the need for women's events where women can connect with each other. We do regular diaper distributions, financial literacy classes, and then we also have some larger scale community events. So an annual community baby shower, a women's health event, an inclusive field day to bring together children with special needs with children that are developing typically. So that's what a regular calendar might have. Another special feature of the work we do, which also is very parent driven, is we have a grant to do diversity programming because we saw that a lot of families in the community were from very different backgrounds and they really were interested in learning about each other. And so one way we've been able to really incorporate that is having parents from the community share about the traditions they grew up with. And it's been wonderful. We've gotten to learn so much, and it gives these families a chance to have a leadership role where they get to bring a piece of themselves to the table. So not only did their children see that, but other families in the community see it. One example is Holi is happening this weekend. It's a holiday that's Hindu, but celebrated in a lot of cultures and countries. So last night we had some families come present about it and did a Bollywood dance class and had dinner together. It's a great way for people to get a hands-on experience. Next slide, please. So we also do a lot of collaboration and partnerships. And as ties in with parent leadership, we can't do this work all by ourselves. It is a small team, and we rely a lot on not just our parent leaders, but on other organizations and other stakeholders in the community to bring resources, to bring information, and to really make our work as broad and relevant as possible for the community. Next slide, please. So if you'd like to take a screenshot, or I can always put it in the chat, you have our contact information here. So if any questions come up in the future, you're more than welcome to reach out. And that's it for me.
Thank you, Christina. And the PowerPoint and the recording of today's webinar will be posted on the NFSN website within 24 hours. So people can also find this slide there as well. Okay, so now that we've heard from everybody except our parent leader, Catherine, we're going to get talking here and welcome Catherine to share her perspective and experience first. So the next part of this webinar is our discussion and dialogue together, and we'll be sharing and talking about parent leadership. And as you have questions, again, encourage you to put them in the Q&A section. So the Q&A icon on your toolbar, and then we'll come to them as we can. So take down the PowerPoint so we can all see each other, and turn to Catherine first as our parent leader involved at Christina Center that we just heard about. So Christina, welcome.
Hi,
And
how are you?
hi, good to see you. And a question to ask you. So how did you first find out about the FRC? How did you first find out about it? And what was your experience with it at the beginning?
So when I first strolled in actually to the Family Success Center in Forwards at the time, I was taking my kid, my oldest, and my friend was with me with her child, and it was a holiday stroll. So we had like a map, and we had to go to all these businesses on that street that they like, so we can get like a prize, I think it was, I can't remember. But Greenway was one of those stops. And so when we went in with the kids, they were doing a craft, and it was like all these kids on the table, and they had a great time. And I can't remember her name, but I don't know if she was an intern there, but she told me a little bit about the center, and I thought that was really cool. And it was during COVID, because that was back in 2021, end of 2021. And I knew they didn't have a lot going on at like the month of January, I believe, and February, but I finally saw them again in the summer, and I got the calendar, and I was able to participate in all the events. Well, not all, but most of the events with my kids,
Wow.
and it was fun, and they love it, and it's like a second home to them. So we enjoy all the events, and I'm also very happy to be part of PAC because it's an opportunity to connect with other parents and discuss what we can possibly like give ideas of what events we should be putting on to the new calendars, and maybe new ideas for crafts, things like that.
Great. And Christina, my understanding is that you were involved in the programs and activities with your family before the parent leadership opportunity came up. Is that correct?
So Zaria actually approached me and said, hey, I think you'd be a really good fit for the PAC team. And I thought about it, and I really felt like I would enjoy spending more time at Greenway and giving like my suggestions and what we could do to keep connecting families and doing fun activities as a group of families, different families.
Thank you. And in terms of participating in the programs and activities, what difference has that made for you and your family?
I feel like so like Christina mentioned, we live in such a diverse community. We have all different families from different backgrounds and different cultures. And my oldest he loves to dance, and he loves music, and he loves creating the crafts that they have in each event. They always do a little bit of information about the event that whatever event we're attending. They'll do a little slideshow, talk about what we're going to be doing or what we're learning, and then we'll have a craft, and he enjoys doing the craft. So it's great for me, get them out of the house, and I can also socialize with other parents, and the kids can socialize with the other kids and have fun while doing it.
Great. All good to hear. All right. And one more question for you before we open it up. What was something now that you've been involved in the actual leadership, the Parent Advisory Committee or PAC team that you've referred to, and you shared a bit about your experience with that. What is something that you've done, the PAC has done, that you've felt particularly proud of?
I feel like everything we do as a group is something to be proud of, but from I guess me, as I remember doing a slideshow for Indigenous Day, So it was something that I was like, I'm going to do this and I'm going to help Christina and the rest of the group to do this slideshow for Indigenous Day. So something that I'm very proud of.
Thank you. Right. And Christina, we're hearing how Catherine has appreciated and benefited from those opportunities. Tell us how you got started working with parents as leaders. Why are you doing that? And do you think that's worth doing or important for your program?
So we really got started because we were finding that our team would try to do programs, but we weren't quite reaching people, or it might be people weren't really coming. And we said, we really need to find out what people actually want and need. And we also had some parents who would come in and give ideas. And we said, there's really a lot of value to finding out what's important to them, because we could spend the whole day planning programs, but unless they're actually things that people want and need, we're not reaching anybody. And so we wanted to really make the community, like you said, a center that was for the community and by the community, not just staff members coming in and making decisions. So we asked a few parents who came to a lot of our programs if they'd be interested in coming to a meeting once a month. We explained what our Parent Advisory Council was and how it was a chance to give feedback and to get to know other parents. And we were really thankful that we had a number of parents like Catherine who they'd already been giving us ideas, and this was just more of a chance to do it regularly. And it's great because it really has evolved a lot. Like Catherine mentioned, when we were going to do an Indigenous Peoples program or Indigenous Peoples Day program, Catherine volunteered to do the presentation. She said, I think this is really valuable. And she's also suggested other ideas like Dia del Campesino in June. So it's been a time for parents to start by coming to programs, but then over time, they've started giving their ideas and really leaving their stamp on the community. And it's been so valuable.
Thank you. And Yesenia, I see you nodding along here. How about how you got involved working with parent leaders in your program and why you think that's an effort well spent?
Yeah, so I've been involved with the North Ward Center itself for 5 years now, but I became director here at our Family Success Center about 2 years ago. So me coming in, the group was already intact. It just had weakened a little bit due to COVID, as in many places. So my goal was to revamp the group. As I heard the ones who were still in part of the group talking about how it used to be, how it was, how powerful it was before. So my goal was to help them revamp the group. And I believe it was important to the group to bring back all that normalcy to our community. So that's how I got involved. It was already intact. They already had their group. It just had weakened a little bit. And my goal was just to make it strong again. And we're on the road to that.
Thank you. And another question for you there is what difference has focusing on the development of parent leaders had on your program? Do you notice a difference?
I would say that it's been a huge change in the mindset where when people come into the center, I think they can tell that the center is about what do you have to say? What have your experiences been? What's important to you? And what's great is that as we've developed more opportunities for parent leadership, where we've made more space for that and made it a priority, the team's thinking differently, instead of just trying to get things done fast and make decisions, we're really stopping and saying, no, we have a lot of people at the table who need to give their input. And so when people come in, new people see community members approaching us and giving ideas or jumping in to help, and they see that this is really their center, not just the staff, and they come in and they say farewell. And so that's made a huge difference in people feeling safe. Recently, a lot of people have expressed they feel comfortable sharing what they're going through, not just with us, but with the other people at the center, because they see everybody as being a part of something bigger.
Thank you. And Yesenia?
Yeah, so participation levels here have definitely risen. The more we focus on community leadership and parent leadership, we have seen a rise even in our programs. To parents, their word of mouth, they start telling other parents about it, and the more they feel involved and that they're the leaders in this group, it makes them want to participate more and bring other parents in. And as they tell the parents of the different things going on, you have a rise in the participation levels.
Now, another question for Catherine. Catherine, how does it feel participating, going to a program that has opportunities for parents to be involved in leadership? So as we were saying earlier, different than you go to a dentist or you go to a healthcare center or a library, all good things. But this is something different. And how does that feel for you working with a program like that?
The difference is obviously when you're going to see the dentist and the health clinic, you're going about once or twice a year, and it's very basic. You get what you need and then you leave. With the Family Success Center, there's just they do offer cleanings, like when there's a date where they do like the teeth checks or the vision. And the difference is you're hanging out with other families, and as you are a dentist too, but it's kind of like they're there and then they leave. You're there for a while, you're socializing, the kids are having a good time, as I mentioned before. And it's just a sense, kind of like another home, I guess, a better way to put it.
Thank you. Great. So wanted to take a little time to talk about how you figured out how to do this work, which I understand is developmental for the staff here. So first asking Christina, any tools, resources, information that you found helpful in trying to develop parent leadership opportunities at your center?
Absolutely. So the baseline was that the Department of Children and Families recommended having a parent advisory council. So that's really what tipped us off from the beginning, that it was important. In terms of really getting it going, I know they've given us some great supports, and I know there have been trainings available. And our parent organization, Prevention Links, has also been really supportive. Pardon the trucks in the background, everyone. But they've been really supportive in terms of making sure that our program was very community-based, that it wasn't just about numbers or about outputs. It was more about how we could really make a difference. And I think from the top, the culture of our organization is really to respect the people that we're serving and to hear their voices. So I know my supervisor, Anna Martinez, and all of our other administrative team have really given us the support and the counsel and the help we need to get this going.
Thank you. And Yesenia, how about you? Tools, resources you found helpful? And
Yes, so our number one resource is the North Ward Center, which is the agency where we're located. It's very family oriented, very supportive to families and the community. And I also attended a training that you mentioned before by your agency, the Developing and Sustaining Effective Parent Advisory Committee training that was hosted by DCF here in New Jersey. And I attended that, and there were a lot of useful tools that were given at that training. One which I have implemented into our group, which is the self-nomination application, where we put together an application and asks the parents why they want to be a part of this group. What are skills that they may bring into the group. So it gives us a sense of the person and how they can contribute to the Family Success Center. But not only that, sometimes parents may think they don't have skills, or they may not know things, or they don't have something to contribute. So with that application, it makes them think, what are the things that you know of? And you can help them point them out. So do you know how to crochet, or do you know how to cook? Well, those are skills. You're a mom, that's a big skill right there. You're a parent, So that was a very good tool that I have implemented, and they really like it. When they're filling out, they feel like they're filling out an application to a job. And it's been successful.
thank you. And now I'll give you this question first, and then go to Christina on it. The next one is, when we talk to programs, they sometimes they may say, well, that sounds great. Parent leadership development sounds great, but it's also sounds like a lot of work, and we're busy with so many other things. So what would you say to the directors of other programs, your peers across the nation, who might think parent leadership development sounds nice, but is too much work or something they don't have time for or isn't really a priority.
Yeah, definitely. It is a lot of work. I'm not gonna sit here and lie to you and tell you it's very easy. It's a lot of work, takes a lot of time, and a lot of planning, but it's very important for your community. You may not think that, it's useful, but once you see these parents, become active and even their self-esteem grows and the families start growing, it's very useful for your Family Success Center because they are the word of mouth to get your program out there. And to bring the people out there, right? Because someone may not know about the Family Success Center. Most of the people that come to our center is because someone told them on the bus or someone was walking by and they mentioned our program and the things we do with the families, and that's what brings the people in. So yes, it's definitely a lot of work, but so worth it. And once the parent leaders take lead, the work is done and they just continue. They take a run for it, and you can sit back and see it happen.
Thank you. Christina?
So I totally agree with Yesenia. I'd say you can't really afford not to have a parent advisory council, whatever that might look like in your community, just because they do bring so much help to the center. And it's also such a wonderful experience for people if we're here in order to really strengthen families. I can't think of a better way than to give people the opportunity to see how much they have to offer. And it really is amazing. We've had some parents come in who were struggling with one thing or another, but when they realized that that wasn't who they were, or they realized we didn't see them that way, that we saw them as this individual, this parent who had a lot to offer, all of a sudden, you just see this transformation of them being so happy and so, ready to help each other. Because a lot of times families who come in, wherever they're happy to help and to give. And when you recognize that and say, we'd love for you to really give input and be a part of this, it just really transforms how they see themselves and how they see themselves within this community too. And yes, it is work, but really anything that you're starting takes work. And so sometimes you just have to put in that push. And it's just like Yesenia said, once you get it up and running, it really does partially run itself, and then you have all these extra ideas and this extra help on hand that are so valuable.
Thank you. And Catherine, what are your thoughts on that question?
Honestly, I think Yesenia and Christina said it best. I feel from my personal experience, I think a sense of purpose. It makes me happy that I'm able to be a part of such a great group. And Greenway is just, like I said, a second home. It gives me peace. I'm always happy when I'm there.
Wonderful to hear. And what would you say to other parents about the value of being involved in leadership in a program?
It is a lot of work, but I feel like with everything, you when there's a will, there's a way. So I think they'd be missing a great opportunity of being part of such a great group, being part of the parents advisory community. We're always welcome. We welcome everyone. So whenever they're ready, I guess we'll be here.
Thank you. And I want to acknowledge too that working with parent leadership development is not the easiest thing, and not something that staff necessarily come to the table trained on or experienced, not something taught in social work school, for example. So that's one of the reasons why the National Family Support Network developed that training that was referenced, developing, sustaining effective parent advisory committees, which I'll share more info about later, because we want to make sure people have the tools and information resources to make it easier. It doesn't make it easy, but at least it makes it easier that you don't have to reinvent the wheel, from learning from best practice about some things that have been shown to be effective with supporting parents as leaders. So I want to turn to another question that's come up again when we talk with programs is a few months ago I was rather surprised. I was talking with folks who referenced parent advisory committees as something that they didn't see fitting their programs. They referenced their programs as being rural and small, and thought, you know, parent advisory committees don't fit, you know, small rural centers. I have thoughts about that, but I would love to hear from folks, from your folks. You're not in rural settings, but you are at small centers. So wonder what your thoughts were about folks thinking, are parent advisory committees only for folks in urban areas or for big centers, or what has your experience been?
Well, I think that it is important to have parent advisory council everywhere, no matter the size of where you're coming from. Parents should be leaders everywhere, and they should be supported. And there may be that one family in your area who's waiting to be invited to something like this. So I believe it's important everywhere. It's important to your programs also, because these parents, like I said before, are the ones that are going to spread the word about your program. So if you don't have many people coming in through the door, maybe having a parent advisory council would help. Yeah, that's how I feel about it.
Yeah, similar thoughts. It's not about the size of your program. It's about you're still serving the community. So it's still important to get their voices into the work that you're doing. And you might just have to be creative. Maybe you need to meet virtually, or maybe you need to figure out a way to make it easy for people to travel farther to get to you. But it's still so important for people to be able to give their feedback so that way you can offer the things that the community really needs.
Right. Okay. So in terms of turning to questions that our participants here today might have, again, welcome people to type any questions you have into the Q&A section on your toolbars. And looking at questions that have been put there so far, there are several of them that are about funding. Actually, 3 of them are all about funding. And I think funding for your centers in general. So maybe Christina and Yesenia could speak to how are your programs funded?
The Family Success Centers in New Jersey are state funded.
Yes, so the
Yes.
state itself has committed resources, and do you also raise additional funds on top of that, or anything?
No, so we're not allowed to raise money. It's funded through the state. Some of us, depending on the Family Success Centers, we do have like mother agencies, and we can take donations and things like that, but we're not allowed to raise money.
Yeah, and again, Yesenia and I are under the same, Department of Children and Families umbrella. I will say that we have sought out other grants. So we do have our funding that is from DCF, but then there are times when we'll either because of a specific project or an opportunity comes up that would line up with the work that we're doing. So we may apply for other grants so that we can offer additional programming. But I would say in terms of the Parent Advisory Council specifically, a couple things we do to really make them more accessible that partially relate to funding. So at our meetings, we meet once a month and we provide dinner, usually just pizza or a tray of pasta. And then we also do separate activities for the children. So that way, whoever is coming, they don't have to figure out babysitting and dinner and things like that. So we just are strategic about setting aside that funding because to us, it's a given. That's definitely a program we're having. But then what's nice is as we look for other funding opportunities that maybe will let us do a PAC appreciation event where we get them a little basket or things like that.
Thank you. All right, and so as we turn towards, let's see, any more questions here? As we turn towards, oh, there's a question in the chat there. Do you pay the Parent Advisory Committee members? Is there compensation or a stipend?
No, they come because they want to, because they like giving their feedback, and we're very thankful for that.
It's a volunteer opportunity.
And in many communities, PAC members may be volunteers. We also talk about in the training that stipending parents is helpful too. If that as a best practice, as programs are able to do that. Not all programs are able to do that for different reasons. But we also hear loud and clear from parents that they're not there for the stipend. That helps, of course, but there's more to it than that. And Christina, Catherine, if I don't know if you had to go there, if you had any thoughts on that.
I think Catherine had to step away for a moment. Oh, never mind. She's back.
Catherine, I don't know if you heard that question, if you had thoughts about compensation for parents serving on PACs or the motivation for parents serving on PACs, and any thoughts on that to share?
No, I feel like the reward is just spending time and giving back to the community by helping create fun activities.
Thank you for weighing in. All right, so time for closing thoughts. Any closing thoughts anyone like to share on this topic about FRC's engaging parents as leaders, exploring parent leadership development? Any thoughts you'd like to share, leave your colleagues across the nation with about this?
Absolutely. So it can look a little bit different everywhere. Now, if a center doesn't have a parent advisory council set up, maybe it's worth it to start small and just make a habit of asking people what they think about programs or if they have ideas for programs. That's really largely how we got started. So just building, again, that mindset of how can we hear back from people? So it doesn't have to be a very big, grand, 0 to 100. It can be a gradual building. And then the people that you're asking, when they see that you care and that you're doing your best to implement what they're doing, that really does generate some buy-in for when you start your parent advisory council, for them to be committed and see it's worthwhile.
One thing that I've brought back to meetings when I go to meetings about PACs and about creating PACs is I always bring up the same subject. I watch the language that you use when you're talking to parents about joining your PAC, because some people call it the parent advisory board. And when they hear words like the board, they probably think that, oh my God, I'm going to make these big decisions that maybe I shouldn't be making. So it's using the language where the person understands that this is volunteer work and these are just suggestions that you're giving, advice that you're giving for programming. You're not making big lethal decisions on the agency. So always the language that you use when you're trying to build the PAC so that people understand what they're joining.
Catherine, any closing thoughts?
Just saying, Christina said it best. Honestly, I don't think I have anything else to add on.
All right. Thank you so much for being here and providing that testimonial about your experience as a parent leader, because I always say that is really what makes all the difference, is hearing from the parent leaders what it has meant to them, and hearing the stories about how is a great motivation for us on the staff side to pay attention to. We're here to serve the community and strengthen the community. So we want to make sure that folks are having positive experiences like Catherine has had. So with that said, gonna thank our presenters today, sharing their stories with you, and share now some information about resources and events that may be of interest to our webinar participants today. So next Wednesday, we will have a webinar Wednesday on the Illinois Family Support Network. So encourage you to participate in that to learn more about how things are organized in that state with their family resource centers, which are called family advocacy centers in New Jersey. And their network also includes other kinds of programs as well, including crisis nurseries. So it's an interesting network to hear more about how they do that and what they're focused on. And we have certification training on those national standards that I mentioned that the NFSN offers regularly every month. And this training is also offered by many of our member networks. So if you're interested in focusing on quality work with families and being certified on those standards, there are more than 16,000 people who have successfully completed that certification training. So you'd be in good company, and you can access the information from the homepage of the NFSN website, how to register for those open trainings, as well as find out if the training is offered in your state, if you're in a state that has a network. Also, this training that has been referred to, the Developing Sustaining Effective Parent Advisory Committees training, it is co-taught both by staff who have supported parent advisory committees, as well as by parents like Catherine, who have served on parent advisory committees. So you hear both the staff and parent leader perspective there. It's very popular. It sells out every month. So if you're interested in this training, I encourage you to sign up sooner rather than later, so you can explore this topic more and have the tools that you need to support a parent advisory committee in your program. And then we are coming up to our largest event of the year at the NFSN, which is the National Forum on May 23rd. And this is a virtual and free event. So this is a save the date about the registration. More information about this will be coming out in the coming weeks. And this is an opportunity to look at the whole picture of family resource centers and family resource networks across the nation, as well as opportunities to connect with our members as part of that forum as well. So encourage you all to participate. It's, again, free, everyone's favorite price. And then, even more fun in store, in October, we have the International Virtual Together for Families Conference. And this is co-sponsored by the NFSN, as well as national organizations in the US, Canada, and Ireland. And this is an event where you can travel the world in the family support field without even having to dust off your passport. So encourage you to save the dates for that upcoming conference, which is going to be bigger and better than ever. And now we're in the call for proposals. So if you are doing innovative or interesting work in any of these areas that are listed here, such as innovative family support practice and policy, integrating family voice, partnership, and leadership, along the lines of what we're talking about today, widening access to concrete community-based supports to narrow the door to child welfare intervention, any of those topics, now is the time to consider sharing your work with the world through this call for proposals that is open until April 4th. And you can find out more information on the Together for Families website, which is togetherforfamilies.org. So that's really easy to remember. And the kickoff for that conference is also coming up on June 4th. So you can learn more about that. And that's when ticket sales will begin for the conference as well. And then finally, here's our contact information at the NFSN. So as you close out of the webinar today, you will see the evaluation pop up on your screen. We really appreciate it if you could take just a few moments to fill that out, as it will help inform our future webinars and offerings. Thank you very much for your participation today. Again, the recording and all the slides, handouts will be on the NFSN website by tomorrow afternoon on the Webinar Wednesday Library section of the website. Thank you again to our wonderful presenters. Wonderful to hear your story. Thank you for joining us and sharing New Jersey's gems with the world. Thanks, everybody. Bye.